Good evening and welcome to Quizzy Monday. And we've got two of the people who appear in that title sequence joining us tonight. We have a fantastic lineup after three really good shows tonight. Different in character, but all very, very entertaining. So what's on the show tonight? Well, we will be talking Mastermind. We've got Jack from Mastermind. We've got no less than five contestants from Only Connect. Assuming they can all make it. One is a self-declared technophobe, so I'll let you keep guessing who that is, but hopefully they'll be in. We'll also then chat to University Challenge, and we're lucky that two of our Only Connect guests were on University Challenge last season, so hopefully they'll have some insights on tonight's match, which is really quite a strange one, but a good one. We will, of course, release nominations for Quizzer and Team of the Week, and we will conclude tonight's festivities with the champagne moment of the week. But before we get going, as is traditional, I want to just play this to say thank you to all the people who help with the running costs for All Things Quiz. It does cost us money to do things like this live stream, and these people support us financially and get a few benefits in return. So thank you to everybody on this list. So there we go. Thank you to everybody who supports us. We have a regular monthly quiz for all of our members, and there are different benefits depending on the grade. So if you're interested in finding out more, you can either contact us at allthingsquiz@gmail.com or go to that Patreon page, patreon.com/allthingsquiz. Now, you can also make comments in the chat. So let me just remove that and add that to let you know that you can post questions or comments. We have a few already. Catherine Burkett. Either or, congratulations to winners. Commiserations to those who didn't win. I'll save one of these until just a second away. And well, anyway, some of these comments are more interesting if I bring the people on. Let's do that without further ado. So we have a few people who are familiar to viewers of All Things Quiz. We have John and Michael, who you will know from last year's University Challenge. So welcome back, guys. And also you'll know Michael if you watched Quizomnium 2. You'd also, if you watched Quizomniums, you will know Anne, who was also on a Quizomnium, and Anne has also done other videos for us, including the brilliant one where we talked with Quizogeny, the feminist quiz fanzine, who are fantastic people, and we would encourage you to check out. We have also from Only Connect, we've got Leigh. Evening, Leigh. Your debut on the show.
Hi, pleased to meet you all. I've watched one or two past episodes, so I'll pretend to know all the in jokes.
And we also have somebody who's very popular in the chat already. We've got Jack, who was on Mastermind. Hello, Jack.
Hello, nice to see you.
Or as is being said here, Gwaan Jack. Up the Jack. And Gwaan Jack. So great that you brought your fan club with you tonight, Jack. That's good to see. How does it feel watching yourselves on screen after perhaps quite such a time of filming since you filmed? Jack, start with you.
Terrifying. very, very much sort of. I watched it live with that group of friends, and it was just sort of absolutely terrifying. Just sort of not knowing how I was going to look, I suppose. But yeah.
You came across really well, though, I thought, Jack, and you came across as somebody who was enjoying the experience, which is not always the case in Mastermind. Was that, was it an enjoyable thing for you?
I was loving it. I was there was a sort of a lot of anxiety building up to it, but then sort of you go in and you're sort of under exam conditions, and it just sort of comes naturally.
Yeah. Well, that's good, and that's good if you can kind of relax and chill out into it. Now, we've got some questions here. John, my question is: were you kidding when you played Peter Robinson's son?
Yes, I was. So we don't have much imagination in my family, so my dad is actually also called John Robinson.
Oh well, Michael, you there was a wonderful comment in there. You all got some plaudits for your clothing tonight, but Michael, this comment on Twitter from Margaret Brown: "Your man in the glitter oversized rainbow jumper. I want that fecking jumper." So Margaret, I did encourage her to come on and ask you herself, but
I'll drop the link for you, Margaret, on the Twitter.
Now, obviously, John and Michael, you were on University Challenge last year. Came in for a degree of unwarranted flack at times. Was the only Connect experience and sharing that experience with Anne a different experience tonight?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm sure Michael will say the same, and Anne, but it was the most fun experience I've had doing TV, and I've done a few different shows now. I think, just the atmosphere in the studio, the relationships between all the contestants, both within our team and all the other teams that we met, like Leigh and his teammates as well. It's just really nice and relaxed and friendly, and just a really fun experience.
Yeah, brilliant. And Anne, how was it joining a well-established dynamic duo and kind of knitting in with those two?
It was a lot of fun. I had known Michael through other quizzing, so we had a bit of a dynamic from that. And then I met John for the first time doing Only Connect, and it was phenomenal. Yeah.
And you'll be able to see that we have been joined, as well as having Leigh. We've been joined by Bridget. Bridget told me that she was a technophobe and I might struggle to get in, but Bridget, you've defied expectations and you're very welcome on the show tonight.
I had to download Google Chrome and that's what's taken me the 5 minutes extra time to get in. But there I am. I've learned yet another technical thing today. So
I feel like the Connections Online Quiz League has been a free computer lesson for Bridget and Kevin, because we're all in that too.
The funny thing is that the guy who is a genius at repairing computers and so on always keeps telling me, he's very encouraging, keeps saying, actually, you know far more about it than most other people. So perhaps I shouldn't do myself down so often. I thought Kevin was going to join us, but maybe not. You coming in? Oh, he's doing something else first. He'll be back later.
Need to get his priorities in order.
But it's good to have you here. Leigh, again, as I said to the others, watching it back, obviously knowing the result, but now kind of watching it back with a critical eye. How was it for you?
Well, I remember the very slow start and having very few points in round one. I was pleasantly surprised by how well we did in round two. So I felt like there was a bit of momentum, and we haven't embarrassed ourselves here. I think there's always you always look at yourself on the screen. You think, is that what I really look like? Is that my double chin or my gap in my teeth or whatever? But after a while, you just think of the questions again.
Yeah, and Bridget, for you, looking back at it now, with the benefit of hindsight and knowing how the season pans out, were you happy with how it came across?
Yeah, actually, I kind of agree with Leigh. I think I feel happier now that I've seen it than I have been thinking about it in the run up to it. I remember the atrocious start, but of course, I think everybody remembers the questions they get wrong. Those are the ones that sit at the front of your mind all the time, and you forget that actually there are a couple of things that you get right without realizing it.
Yeah, I was watching the Sue Virginia question, and I thought, we don't get this, do we? And then we got 3 points, so I was very pleased.
It is odd how the memory can play tricks on you. Now, the first show we had tonight was Mastermind, and Jack, you chose the very narrow topic of 20th century American vice presidents. What prompted that level of crazy that you went for a subject that wide?
I'd always been sort of. I'm very much sort of the known as the politics quizzer in sort of quizzing communities, and it's been a sort of a bit of a running joke that I sort of am into vice presidents. I do think it's a fascinating job, and sort of the people who've held it are all sort of interesting characters. So I thought it would be something that would be quite interesting to study. And I was quite surprised actually. There was sort of a lot more than I was expecting. I was expecting it to be the sort of dry sort of things that they did sort of in the day-to-day of the office, but there was sort of a lot of facts that I uncovered while researching.
Yeah, so I mean, you did pretty well on it for such a broad subject. 7 out of your 12 questions. Now, Anne, I know you are kind of pretty good on your American political history. Were you watching that with interest?
I was watching it with interest, especially because it is vice presidents. And I think vice presidents, like first ladies, are they're kind of essential to the success of a presidency, but they don't get a lot of credit. So I was thrilled to see them getting credit tonight on Mastermind.
Yes, and you know, and some very notable people. I mean, I like the who was the chap with the actress on the piano?
Truman.
Harry Truman.
Harry Truman. Oh, who's one of your favorites, isn't he, Anne? If not your favorite?
Yes, I have a tattoo of Harry Truman. I'm such a fan. So yeah.
So that was good fun. It was actually quite a political episode, if you think about it, with Emily Wilding Davison, and obviously an inherently kind of political individual, very notable, and then Thick of It, which I would say is a parody of politics, except the times we're living in, kind of makes you know long for Nicola Murray as Prime Minister. But yeah, I mean, a good set of subjects. John, anything that leapt out to you from the subjects we had on tonight?
I thought for both Jax and I can't remember the name of the lady who did the New Romantics, but I think both of them were quite broad subjects, and they're certainly not things I would want to tackle because they're both covering, you know, a big time span, lots of people, lots of names. Whereas, you know, some people might just do one band or one vice president. So, yeah, very, very impressed that both of them managed to do such big topics, I guess.
Yeah, Michael, did you manage to catch Mastermind this evening?
No, unfortunately, I didn't. We were sort of running so behind schedule that we came around to my partner's parents' house to watch it, and we were we ended up starting Only Connect 15 minutes after it actually started. So we went back to the beginning to watch, and so it's just, you know, I only got to see that in the sort of first 15 minutes of University Challenge, but I definitely will go back and watch you, Jack. I'm not just gonna leave you out to dry like that.
Bridget, if you were to go on Mastermind, would you risk a political subject, or would you steer well clear?
No, I might risk a political subject, but I wouldn't have been as brave as Jack and take such a while. I think I would try to find something that was a bit narrower and slightly more niche than the American vice presidents. I think that's quite a huge area to cover. Especially when you get into their quirky, you know, things that they get up to, whatever. You know.
I thought they told you not to do something connected with your job. Is that not right? I seem to remember looking at the application form, but I'm not sure if that would be, they would interpret it so widely as that your job involves American vice presidents.
Yeah. I'm not sure that ever came up. I'm not sure I was actually in my job when I applied, but that never sort of came up.
And what is your job? Because they gave us the title, but we didn't really find out exactly what that means. Are we allowed to know?
So I work in local council. So I sort of set up meetings and help people sort of access councillors and democratic services. access meetings, ask questions, that sort of thing.
So I think that's far enough divorced from 20th century American vice presidents that it's not going to be an advantage to you. But at the end of your first round, Joe had just been phenomenal on his subject, Emily Wilding Davison. There was some predictable stuff in there, but actually, but some challenging things, and he just nailed it. 13 out of 13. You were in there with 7. At the end of that first round, what's your mindset? Is it kind of, well, I'm playing for fun now, or is it actually I'm going to go hell for leather for this?
It was a relief when he could. It was a bit of a relief when he came and got 13, because I thought, okay, I can just sort of do as well as I can and not worry about the score as much. Because I hadn't. I sort of hadn't entered to win. It was sort of a case of just I wanted to do as best as I could, really. But yeah, it was also just I had no real scale for how much I would get in the first round, because I just wasn't sure what would come up. And I think it came across that sort of thing. There were things that I'd sort of researched and put down that's definitely going to be a question. Frank Sinatra and Laura Bacall were definitely sort of highlighted all the way through. But there were other ones that I had just hit the post on researching. So the Al Gore question, I knew the businessman he'd taken donations from, but not the law he broke, which was irritating. Because I heard the question, I was thinking, please get to the end and ask me that thing, and it wasn't.
and that's, I people here will be sick of me saying this, but the first time you go on Mastermind, it's reconnaissance. You're going on, you're learning how the show works, you're learning how to learn for it, and you hope you do well, but you come out of it better prepared for if you're going to go for it again. And I assume you are got one eye on a future tilt at it.
I definitely like to do it again. I don't know what I'd pick. Really now. Of course, they ask you for a sort of semi and a final subject, but I hadn't really given them with any sort of planning of how I would do that, how I would sort of tackle those subjects, because there were sort of 3 quite different ones. But yeah.
Okay, well, we'll get on to the semi-final or second round, sorry, in a second. But I just want to run through the winners of Quizzer and Team of the Week from last week. Well done to David Highland, winner of Quizzer of the Week last week for his Pop Culture Challenge performance. Second was Ian Toms because of his brilliant performance on Only Connect. And third was Kishava Guha. Team of the Week was won by Cunning Planners from Only Connect. Second, Krypton Currency from SporkleCon. And third, Educated Guess. You can send in nominations for Quiz or Team of the Week to tinyurl.com/ATQ nominations. Nominations close at 5 p.m. each Monday, UK time. You can nominate any quizzer for any event or any team for any quiz. And of course, Joe, who won Mastermind tonight, will get a nomination for Quizzer of the Week. General knowledge rounds. Again, Joe just aced it. I think, though, Jack, you might have come in with Guess of the Night, if I'm judging this right. Super Trooper, was that a pick an ABBA song? Because it kind of looked like it.
Yeah, in that moment, I thought, well, there were only sort of 2 or 3, and it wasn't SOS, so I just said it, like completely, just yeah. But I just want to say just quickly that I happened to know Joe Andrew before the show. Well, I didn't know him personally, but he taught at my university, and his neighbour was my university tutor. So that was a very sort of fun experience finding that out. It was on set. We were sat on the chairs about to start, and he says, "I worked at Kiel."
And there you go, small world. He looks like an absolute contender, I think, for the title. We don't know. I don't think they've filmed it yet, so I don't think we will know who the winner is for a little while. But but he was very good.
I'm totally backing him to win the series now.
Well,
it would be nice to say,
for the winner. Anybody see any questions in that second round that particularly appealed to them that stood out as you're watching? Because I tell you, one that stood out to me was Whiplash, as I'm currently suffering from it. It was pretty much describing the car accident I had about a week ago. So yeah, thanks for that, Mastermind, for bringing back that feeling. But yeah, I mean, it was a good episode, but a clear winner. But Jack, you should. Firstly, there are lots of people who talk a good game about quizzing, who kind of big themselves up, but putting yourself forward to actually be scrutinized by the world, by Twitter, by Facebook, and whatever, and in that black chair, it's a kind of lonely spot. Nobody can help you out. So, well done to you for putting yourself up there, and hopefully we will see you in that chair again at some point. So fingers crossed on that. So well done to you. Now, before we move on to Only Connect, just want to play a very short advert. We've just released part 2 of our Quiz Academy guide to the periodic table. In this video, you will learn how an understanding of the structure of the periodic table and its properties of the elements can help you get more points in quizzing. There are 82 facts that you can glean from this video, and we know that as a result, you will be a better quizzer for it. So why don't you watch that video now? And I said watch that video now. Don't watch that video now. Watch that video later once we've finished chatting.
Watch it before you go and Only Connect, in case there's an answer.
I have to say, I watched that about 2 or 3 days ago and thoroughly enjoyed it. So I would add my recommendation.
Thank you very much, John. And I have to say, on University Challenge tonight, it would have been very handy if people had watched the Chinese Dynasty video that we did previously, because the inventions all came up there. Now, oh, hang on. I wrote this down sort of phonetically. Jugadores.
Very good.
Yeah.
Not bad at all. Better than Victoria by a drop.
Yeah, but Jugadores is kind of a nice. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. So hang on. So how did you guys come together? What was the genesis of your team?
I mean, we've known each other for.
Well, I've known Leigh. I've known Leigh since he was a baby.
Oh.
And I sort of knew Bridget, but I probably wasn't quite aware of it. But yeah, so it's been 40 odds, 46.
He came to my wedding when he was 3 months old.
Oh, bless. I mean, that
How
must
sweet
be...
is that?
As the best man.
So have you spent the intervening years training him up, Bridget, then? To be a top-level quizzer?
No, I think he could do that on his own.
Yeah, we're old family friends, and Kevin and Bridget are partners, so they've known each other for how long? 15, 20 years, Bridget? I don't know, actually.
Yeah, nearly 20 years now.
Did that kind of strengthen, being on that team in that sort of environment? Did it strengthen that kind of relationship you got? Did you feel it helped?
I mean, I think it gave us, we obviously all know each other really well and trust each other, so I think it definitely helps in that respect. I did feel for some of the other teams who were put together by the producers and didn't really have the chance to meet or practice together. I mean, I assume they might have practiced online, but I feel that having a bit of history and the chance to spend time together is definitely a help. And especially if we're regular quizzers in pub quizzes and newspaper quizzes, but we've not done any real tournaments before. So we probably needed that advanced practice to get kind of up to speed.
Excellent. Gerard is saying about the video that we just trailed. I watched it earlier. Is that okay? Yes, Gerard, but you can watch it again. And he says he got 2 out of 3 on the Chinese Dynasty question, so that's good. Now we know that John and Michael were on the brilliant Birmingham team from last year's University Challenge, but you 3 play together in Connections Online Quiz League. Is that right?
Yeah, we basically what happened was when we finished filming our final episode of University Challenge on the car back, John gave me a ride back to Birmingham, and we were like, should we just apply for Only Connect next? And we were thinking about who we should bring along with us, and Anne immediately popped into my mind because I just thought she would add a lot of knowledge that in areas that John and I maybe aren't particularly strong with. And it turned out to be true. So we joined Connections Online Quiz League as a way of kind of practicing for hopefully getting onto the show. So that's. So we joined the league because of wanting to be on Only Connect rather than the other way around.
But did you play in the league before you filmed?
Yes, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
So-
I think
we
we decided we were going to be a team, and then I think as we were doing the application process was the sort of same time period as the first season of the Connections Online Quiz League that we did. So we played some matches online together before we filmed.
And Leigh and Bridget, did you know the caliber of Quizzy you were facing when before you got into studio? Because I mean, you sure found out when you're in studio, but did you have any sense beforehand?
No, I think did we recognize Michael at some point, or we sort of thought? I think
he's very recognizable.
But that was for me. That was the first clue.
Yeah, no, we didn't know, and I think, I think. Well, I don't think say we were surprised at just how good all the other, the many of the other teams were. We weren't surprised at it because we watched the show often enough. We know how good they are, but it was interesting to see that like Michael and John had been, I recognized them immediately from last year's UC. So, and how good they were on that. So I thought, oh crikey, this isn't going to be easy.
Thanks for keeping it clean, Bridget. Now, Anne, have you done TV before? I'm not sure. I can't remember.
I did Eggheads a couple years ago with some fabulous folks in the Quiz League of London who are now in the Grinling Gibbons team. And in the States, I did Jeopardy, and then a very weird quiz show that lasted for one season, hosted by Al Roker, called Remember This? And it was on MSNBC and was about news clips from NBC that you had to answer questions about.
Nice. Well, so again, an old hand at TV Quiz World. So two teams facing off, knowing that actually win or lose, you're going to be playing again, which is a nice position to be in. Unfortunately, Jack, you're not in that position. But Jack, did you manage to watch Only Connect after your Mastermind, or were you kind of bombarded with messages like the sort of thing that seems to be coming in the chat, like "Come on, you Jack"?
I did watch it. I was very much sort of on a bit of an adrenaline rush afterwards, and I was getting messages. But I thought it was a very good game. I very much enjoyed the questions. Very much enjoyed the teams. Recognized you beforehand, and it was sort of very fun. I thought the Jugadores got very unlucky questions in the first two rounds, and sort of some rough ones. But so I thought you did very, very well.
There's some real luck of the draw, obviously, in how the questions come out in Only Connect. So it is possible to be unlucky, and I will say that my team was unlucky in the semi-final till the day I die. But and we weren't just beaten by a much better team. But yeah, I mean the I've forgotten your team name. The Harlequins did have a very good round one. Were there any of these questions? I mean, for me, I loved the first one, the Wu-Tang Clan one.
Michael was annoyed about that one.
Michael, talk us through how you didn't see the spelling of killer, and then
it's a funny one because I'm pretty sure I remember about 30 seconds before the camera started rolling, turning to my teammates and saying, "I really hope we get some rap questions." And and the very first question was one, and somehow it's just I think I was in anagram land. I think I was trying to do something different with the words, so I didn't actually look at what they were saying. And yeah, I've had. I don't want to say nightmares, but I definitely have had a couple dreams about that one. So
you either see it or you don't, though. That's the thing. In that moment, under pressure, and if it's the last clue and you haven't got long on it, if you either see it or you don't. But you did get the music round, which after bigging yourselves up on music, or at least bigging up two of the members of the Harlequins on music, kind of had to get that one, didn't you, really, John?
And I think after three clues, I think we had an idea what it might be, but I think we just took the fourth one just to be sure, and then the Tom Robinson one gave it to us.
And with the Miles Davis and the Nat King Cole, I was sitting there thinking, all right, my dad's going to be watching this on YouTube at some point, and and he will disown me if I don't recognize what these are. So I'm really glad that I'm going to still be in the family.
Because I think it's funny because a lot of people dread the music question. Like often when it comes on, Victoria will say, "Oh, I'm afraid you've got the music question." But actually, I think we were quite happy to have a music question because I think generally we're pretty strong on that.
Yeah, and so you started off, you got that, you then picked up a bonus on the football team's question, but it was nice the Jugadores. You fought back. I thought that picture one was a beautiful conceit, and the way you picked it up was really nice. That must have felt a big relief to get kind of a point on the board at that point, Leigh.
Well, exactly. Yeah, I think just having 1 point and not 0 after round 1 was definitely a confidence booster. And we had that one question which Twitter thinks we were harshly judged.
I agree with Twitter.
Come to their own conclusion, but and in the end, it didn't affect the result of the end result of the game. Thankfully, otherwise we might have been more bitter about it. But the places and the cities and the capitals and then I noticed I was even more slightly aggrieved watching it because I noticed that I think Michael, did you say that they were countries? And Jersey, of course, is not a country, and so I thought, well, if she's being pedantic to us, why shouldn't she be pedantic to you? But anyway, it was fine, and we got that 1 point, which did let us go into the sequences rounds feeling okay, where we got started. And I think personally, I always feel better on the sequences round anyway.
Yeah. It's very easy though if you get an adjudication that goes against you and you think it's kind of harsh to either screw up into a ball of resentment or to be thinking about that question and why you didn't get given it when the next questions are going on, and then you're kind of taking yourself out of the game. So
exactly, the one thing that the experience that is helped me with that is in my intro it was mentioned that I played bridge for Scotland, and bridge is one of those games where you make a mistake on one hand, you've got to forget it, you've got to move on, because otherwise you've screwed up the whole day. And or if your partner makes a mistake on a hand, you also got to forget it. And it's that somehow that discipline, because I guess learning that game very young, I think I'm able to move on like that.
Yeah. And Bridget, how are you feeling at that point? 5-1 down after the first round.
Well, I think I was just glad that we'd actually got a point and we hadn't gone into the second round with absolutely nothing. That would have been. I think that might have psychologically started to sort of mess with our brains. But I felt actually just so sort of nervous throughout the whole thing that there's no way I could have remembered the previous question. It had gone as soon as it'd been asked. It was sort of having to focus and concentrate. Exactly what was coming up next.
You've been in high pressure environments, in Parliament and whatever, and hustings and stuff like that. So is it just that it's not your natural environment? Is that what kind of makes you feel under pressure?
Well, partly. But I suppose it's also that you're doing this with your mates, and it's a team, and you don't want to
unlike the Labour Party, say.
Yeah, it's not. Let's not take the analogy too far here. But I was never, in Parliament, I'd be standing at the dispatch box, responding to questions at, departmental question time, and I'd still be nervous. I think sometimes it's quite important to have a bit of nervousness in what you're doing, because it kind of helps focus you on what you're supposed to be. I think if you get too blasé about things, then I think that comes across, and I think it means people don't feel that you're actually maybe giving the thing the due importance that it deserves.
Yeah, I think that's fair comment. I'm really interested, Bridget, though. If there was an ideal politicians only connect team, who do you think should be in that team?
All right, I might need notice of that question. I will wait for you.
I'll let you muse on that.
Surely we all agree it would be Michael Portillo.
We'll come back to you on that one, Bridget, later,
Okay,
and you can muse on it. But I'll dock 5 points if you say Nadine Dorris. Yes. Anyway, enough of my MP. So round 2, Harlequins, you're 5-1 up. At that point, particularly, you've all had a degree of success in quizzing, both on TV and kind of in real life. Are you thinking, okay, we're in a strong position here, let's keep going? What was the mindset going into that second round? Michael, you're shaking your head.
Well, I think we've all sort of watched enough Only Connect and played enough quizzes, and also even in our experiences in the Connections Online Quiz League, to know that 4 points difference between the two teams after one round really doesn't mean anything, because so much can change over the next 3 rounds. So I think we were all, I can speak for myself, but I know that we all talked constantly going into it about wanting to just have as much fun as we could, knowing that we had the safety net, knowing that we would come back whether we lost or not, or won or lost. But we did. Obviously, it feels we are competitors, and we would have preferred to win. So we I think wanted to stay on our toes as best we could, and thank goodness we did, because they did come roaring back in round 2.
They did, yeah. We've had here's a suggestion, and it'd be good for round 2, John Burko, because he knows the order.
Oh, very good.
Very good.
So there we go. Well done, Jamie, on that pun. Yeah. So round 2, the sequences round. Any other sequences you're really chuffed to get, or gutted that you missed?
For me, as an English teacher, the Jane Austen one, which I think I commented on at the time, I think they maybe edited it out. I said something about, I probably can't go back to school as an English teacher now or something. And then I also slagged off Jane Austen and said I don't really like her as a writer anyway. But yeah, that's the sort of one that, as I'm watching it back, I was thinking, how did none of us get this? It seems so obvious watching it back. But at the time, like we said earlier, maybe kind of to overcomplicate it, we're looking for other sequences or wordplay things rather than just thinking, something a bit more straightforward, I guess.
Yeah. I think also you could be led astray, because that was the Jugadores question. And once Machu Picchu's mentioned, you're kind of looking to try and complete that set, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, messed myself up too. I think getting the tennis players, just getting the 3 points and feeling like, well, okay, we're back into it. Even though tennis is not my favorite subject for a question, or it wasn't the most fun, exciting question, but it was important.
Yeah, part of the reason was that I recognised that straight away, because Emma Raducanu lives not far. She lives in southeast London, and so I kind of, in that sort of weird way your brain works, that you just make that connection, if I can use the word. So it kind of almost as if I was ready for it.
And you did pipe up on that one as well, Bridget. Noticeably, you kind of got the tennis thing quite early on. Obviously, you missed out the Andy Murray, or misgendered him, but I don't think he'll mind on that. That was a good.
No, he's a good feminist.
Yeah. No, he'll be absolutely fine on that. He certainly is, because he's spoken out, called people out on sexism in tennis in respect of Serena Williams. He's been very good on that. Anne, how was your feeling about that round?
I was really mad that we missed the MASH question, because I grew up watching MASH, and so that was kind of annoying. Yeah.
Which then came up in University Challenge as well as a
Indeed,
question.
it was
Did,
Mash Night.
yeah.
Yeah, it did. So, and Kevin was really disappointed that you got that. We didn't get the MASH question because you recognised it immediately. So, but that's the swings and roundabouts, isn't it?
It is. It is. Jack, playing along at home, how did you find that round?
I saw the mayors immediately. But
that was on
yeah.
the walls, wasn't it? Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
We're still on sequences.
Sorry.
That's fine. I think the one I got early was the that don't impress me much. But could I remember the fourth in the sequence? It's like, so you're a rocket scientist, so you're Brad Pitt, so you got a car. I don't even remember that kind of Elvis thing as the fourth one, so that didn't impress me much. But
do you know what's really funny is we say about, often you remember the questions that you don't get right to such an extent that the one about the anagrams of the elements, as that one came up, I thought watching it back tonight, I can't even remember what the answer is to this question. I couldn't. I was watching it thinking, I literally have no idea what this question is asking for.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just goes to show that even if you've been through the experience and done the question, still sometimes you forget what the answer is.
And we saw with Leigh later on the wall talking about, is it this type of question? Is it a word in a word and all that sort of thing? And anagrams are one of these things you think of, but I would have been hard pressed. I would have been hard pressed without a pen and a piece of paper to work out what those anagrams were. I'm sure some people would spot them straight off.
I mean, multi-high is recognizable, probably more so than mule high. But obviously we didn't see it at the time. But I think we did after filming this episode, we went away and kind of redrew our lists of what type of sequence we're looking for, what patterns we're looking for, and kind of had our checklists. And you'll find out later in the season whether or not that works.
But that is interesting because we talked to some teams so far this season who didn't really, they didn't really have that sort of thinking beforehand, and then after the next, it's like they didn't change anything. That they just carried on as they were. But it's interesting that you were tactical, and presumably the Harlequins, you were tactical from before you even went on. You were thinking about these things.
Yeah, I think especially from having played the Connections Online Quiz League, I think we'd kind of got in the habit of thinking there might be anagrams, there might be hidden words, there might be two different words where one's a synonym of something or antonym or whatever. So yeah, I think practice definitely does help. But sometimes it can be a hindrance because, as in the first question, you can then overcomplicate things and be trying to look for hidden words when actually it's just something more straightforward than that.
Yeah. One thing we tried to do that I think was a complete waste of time was we learned a lot of factual sequences. We learned a lot of, sports events in order and, prizes that had been won in order of year. And probably about 50 or 60 kind of knowledge-based sequences that we listed out beforehand and tried to learn them. And I don't know if a single one of them came up. It was much more, the sequences are much, in our episodes at least, were much more about numerical and letter patterns and those kind of things.
Yeah, I do think, because I watch quite a lot of old episodes on YouTube in preparation as well. And I think if you watch episodes from really early days, from the first couple of series, I think there is more knowledge-based sequences. Whereas now I do think they're putting in more wordy play ones, because I guess you inevitably run out of sequences.
They've used them up,
kings or prime ministers or whatever.
Yeah.
All good. Right, so before we get onto the walls, I just want to play this. Congratulations to Keith Andrew, the winner of last week's What is the Question competition. The answer was Rush, and his winning question, voted for by you, was, in the title of an English folk song, members of what group of flowering plants, Latin name Juncaceae, grow with a green colour O? Well done to Keith for that. This week's answer in need of a question is Sheffield. And we've had over 50 questions submitted, and you can now vote for them at tinyurl.com/WITQ Sheffield. Voting is open till Wednesday, when we'll release the final offering for you to find a winner. Make sure you're following us on Facebook and Twitter so that you can see the word that gets released on Sunday and take part. So that's what is the question. Now, the walls. Harlequins, you smashed it, really. I mean, I'm trying to find another way of putting it, but it was brutally relentless how you dealt with that. I'm trying to think, was there kind of any element where you didn't, you got any luck? It didn't feel like it was. It felt like
No,
you
I
kind
think.
of saw
Although I
things.
think it took us a while. I think actually to kind of get going on it. I think watching it back, it seemed to take us longer than I remember. Kind of 30, 45 seconds to actually get the first group. But obviously, the more groups you get, then the easier it becomes, because then you eliminate possibilities. But yeah, I think it landed quite nicely in our favour. There was a film one. We're all pretty big film buffs. There was a one that mentioned Blazing Squad, so obviously that was ideal. And a wordy one, and I can't remember what the other one was.
And it felt like the whole team contributed really well.
No, publishing houses felt well because all into books and stuff. So yeah,
because Anne spotted the Amy Adams connection. It's one thing thinking they're films; it's another thing thinking and she's the person who connects them, and that was quite important. I think that gave you your second set, didn't it? And then the team, the interplay between the team, and confirming things. You confirmed one of the publishing houses, and Michael, you were jumping in with publishing houses, and John. It just felt like you worked just really well as a team, and yeah, I was very impressed by that. The Jugadores, watching it back.
Well, I think we were glad we didn't get their wall. I looked at your wall and I thought, I am not sure I'd have got anywhere on that. And not that we did amazingly on ours, but I think we at least sort of knew what we were looking for.
I'm not. I don't totally agree with that, Leigh. In that I wouldn't have got the Amy Adams bit at all, but we might have ended up getting the group together.
Maybe, yeah.
But certainly recognised the squads and the publishing houses fairly. Maybe not quite as quickly as you did, but got that, and then could possibly have worked on the others. What annoyed us about our wall, about not getting it, was what annoyed me was I kept looking at Mother's Pride and thinking there's something wrong with that, and at the very end, I don't think it is picked up. I say something not loud enough, unfortunately, that Mother's Pride should have an apostrophe in it. And I think if I'd said it, I think Kevin would then have definitely have recognised it as the song. And
yeah, because I heard you say that, and I think I had noticed it, but I just thought, oh, the bread must not have an apostrophe, and obviously that's incorrect. But if Kevin didn't hear you, then yeah, he might have. He'd be more likely to know the songs because he had picked up the George Michael connection earlier. And I heard him say Freedom and Faith, but I had no idea what other two might be in that category. So, which is why that's the only reason I knew it when after it was resolved was because he'd said that.
But it gave one of my cousins great pleasure watching it tonight because she is celiac, and he immediately recognised the breads.
The genius bread. Yes,
I know. I was so the last group that I tried. I got the first three breads, and I must have been hovering between Genius and Faith, and I went for Faith. And I will never put Faith above Genius again if I ever have.
Oh, very good, very good. Well, I mean, it was a tough wall. If you couldn't get in, at least Bridget, you got your politicians. So again, you weren't kind of embarrassed by missing a political set, but it still meant there was a 6-point gap going into missing vowels, and you started pretty well. I'm trying to make sure I got my my things the right way around now, but it was Nursery Jacks. I think I might have got my notes wrong.
No, that's right.
I think we kind of split
Yeah.
those about evenly.
Yeah.
The Jacks. It was the Egyptians that
It was the Egyptians that killed you, really,
Yeah.
wasn't it?
Because
Because there was all four went to the Harlequins, and then there was a neg. Came back on the Aussie coins. That was a nice set, I have to say. But ultimately, a nice strong win for the Harlequins. But we will see you back. And I say, I said on Twitter, you showed enough that you're a decent team, that we are going to see more from you later in the series. We know that the Harlequins are going to be good. Oh God, sorry, hang on. Apparently, the Danish version of Only Connect had a team called the Jugadores. There you go. Catherine Burkett with the pun. So, brilliant. So, well done at Harlequins. Well done also to the Jugadores. We're just going to briefly go, I think, to the nominations for Quizzer and Quiz Team of the Week. Then we'll talk briefly about University Challenge, and then we'll look at the champagne moment of the night, which could be anything from tonight's quizzing. So let's have a look at the nominations. Here are this week's Quizzer of the Week nominations. Graham Abbott for 7 out of 8 in QLL. Dan Adler for 7 out of 8 in QLL. Matthew Bliss and Jenna Carolan for being last-minute deputisers for Creepy Crawlies in the Connections Online Quiz League. Dan Burgess won the Pop Solos competition in America. Pat Gibson was the Grand Prix winner in the UK and got an OQL Full House. Jason Hess, OQL Full House. Julia Hobbs, 7 out of 8 in QLL. Gwilym James, 13 out of 15 in the Pop Culture Challenge. Jack Lewis, an OQL Full House. Dave McBrien, 13 out of 15 in the Pop Culture Challenge. Tom Mead, 13 out of 15 in the Pop Culture Challenge. Rob Sutherland got 30 points in a Grand Prix genre. Ian Toms, an OQL Full House. And Matt Williams, 13 out of 15 in the Pop Culture Challenge. And for Team of the Week, the nominations are Atletico of QLL's Division 2B. They got the highest score in the whole QLL last week. Banana Splits got an all-round strong performance in QLL Division 2A. And Ethical Mind Collective, highest OQL score of the week. Old Bailey Criminals, the highest Quiz Nations Asia Pacific score of the week. Tonight's Only Connect winners, the Strangers of OQL Division 5B for beating the league leaders. And tonight's University Challenge winners. You can now vote at tinyurl.com/QW03oct for your winner, and we'll release the winners on Friday evening at 6 p.m. And obviously that was recorded before we saw tonight's shows, so we know the Only Connect winners are the Harlequins, and they are into the vote. We're also adding Shari in seat 1 for Queen's Belfast tonight, who got 8 starters. And interesting. I'd be interested to hear what John and Michael make of it before, as well as the rest of you. But having been on the show last year, watching it back now, are you watching it with different eyes, a different kind of critical eye?
I guess more of a relaxed eye. I guess having not having the pressure of knowing we've got to go on it. I really enjoyed tonight's episode. I thought two strong teams. I thought the questions were a nice mix of kind of new stuff, interesting stuff to add to the canon, and then a lot of kind of classic Quiz Bowl, University Challenge type stuff as well. Good episode, I thought. Yeah.
And sorry, Michael.
Yeah, I agree. I was just going to say I didn't get to watch the end of it, so that was. I mean, I'm not surprised that Queen's Belfast won because they were very strong. But I think when I watch now, I often, I listen to the questions and I try and play along, but I definitely do. I feel much more sensitive about these are a lot of these people's first time on television, and what kind of criticism are they going to get? And I hope that it's not bad. I hope that I hope people are nice to them. Basically, is mostly what I'm thinking when I watch.
Yeah, and John talked about the mix of the questions. Was there anything that kind of stood out to you from the question setting from tonight?
I really enjoyed tonight's UC question setting, and it may have been because a lot of the questions kind of fell in my wheelhouse. But the Ruthie Carter set was beautiful, and then also the musical set was one where I was yelling at the television because I love musicals. So
the Carter one with the costume designer for movies, brilliant starter, brilliant bonus set. Valerie's favourite set of the night by quite some distance. Really, really enjoyed that. Also like the musicals because I got the Calamity Jane starter from about 2 or 3 notes. Because what else is it going to be except the Deadwood stage? So
I felt really sorry for them on that round because they almost seemed to be answering the question that came before. They answered Oklahoma to another one. They answered "Annie, get your gun" to the next one or whatever. So I felt for them on that round.
Yeah. Jack, have you had any experience of University Challenge? Or if not, what was it like as a viewer?
I haven't sadly. My university haven't put up a team for years, but it was very fun watching it. It was nice to see a game that felt sort of close and competitive because we've had some sort of quite blowouts in the past couple of weeks. It was very fun watching Queen's Belfast go from sort of the underdogs to winning. There was one set I really liked. I can't remember what set it was, but there was the one about the Persian rug where I just sort of said, as soon as I heard rug, I just went, Iran, Persia. And I'd actually seen the rug and I hadn't even realised. But yeah.
Yeah, it was good. There was some lovely moments like when McInerney kind of pieced together Gorgon and Zola into Gorgonzola. I enjoyed that. Bridget,
sorry.
No, go on, John.
I thought there were a couple of nice questions like that where it kind of paired to, there was like Gorgonzola one where you had to add the Gorgon to the Zola, and then also the Mabusi one where you had to kind of have knowledge of either Strictly or the films of Fritz Lang. And I think those questions are always quite neat where there's kind of multiple ways in, or there's maybe like a kind of highbrow and lowbrow element to the question.
Yeah. Leigh and Bridget, did you get a chance to watch it amongst all the kind of fallout of Only Connect?
Yes, I've just seen about the first 10 minutes. And Leigh and I both graduates of Glasgow University, so you can imagine which side we'll be supporting. Although it doesn't sound like it sounds like they've gone the same way as we did. Right? But,
I quite like the clothing questions, the hat and the blazer. That was cute, and I kind of had half an eye on it because of that, that post-show WhatsApp flood. But that was the question I liked.
Big up the GU there, and just for good luck, Gwaan Jack, which may well have to be the title of tonight's video. I have to say, I mean, again, we had Lillian Crawford on a couple of weeks ago. She's been writing for this series and trying, really doing sterling work in terms of diversifying the canon. I like the fact that the first bonus set was women premieres. We've had enough of male politicians all over University Challenge over its history. It was good. There was women premieres, Catherine the Great, Ruth Carter. It just felt that there was nice sort of diversification still going on throughout this series. It's been really good. I love the flags. I love my flags.
Oh, the flags are good.
Yeah, birds and flags, and Valerie will have appreciated that Paxman corrected the pronunciation of Dominica, which is particular Caribbean bugbear. So that was good. But yeah, fundamentally, it looked as if Glasgow. Sorry about this, Bridget, but it looked like Glasgow were halfway going to be winning this relatively comfortably, and then out of the last 3, 6, 8, 12 starters, Queen's got 10 of them.
Wow.
And that's it. They just kind of ran away with it. And it wasn't a high scoring match. And not all of the sets were converted. Bonus sets were converted, effectively. But nonetheless, with buzzing like that, if you can't get in, it's just all one-way traffic. And I suspect Glasgow, whether their heads dropped or not, I don't know. But what can you do when a team is buzzing like that?
Yeah, well, we had a COQL match like that yesterday against the day on Saturday against another set of University Challenge alumni, the Zoomsbury group.
From Imperial.
They wiped us out. So it was familiar experience.
Well, we do love them because we had
Fatima on a couple of weeks ago,
and Michael Cohn on last week. Bless. But anyway, great episode. So Bridget, have you had a chance to think about your fantasy OC team?
I have. I'm still struggling.
Does it
but-
involve leadership?
I mean, technically, I suppose if we wanted people who have had experience of being on quiz shows before, I should have Quasi Quarting on, but I don't think that would make my team very popular.
No, but he might have some spare time soon.
so I may have to dump him. I think actually Ed Balls would probably be quite good and be quite good fun to have on. And I might even go, but I probably ought to spread it beyond one political party.
Well, Aaron Bell, the current Tory MP, he's an Only Connect series champion.
Oh, he's another. Yeah, that's right. So maybe have him on then. There's a bit of balance.
Yeah, and David Liddington, I'd always throw that one in. But he captained Sydney Sussex to a series victory.
Yes, and he's a nice guy. Actually, I like David Liddington. He's a nice guy, so I might have him.
Yeah, he's a nice guy, which is why he's no longer in Parliament. And going back to a comment on Mastermind earlier, hopefully the Prime Ministerial career of Liz Truss will be a very small subject for Evade in the next series. Well, we don't know. A little bit of politics there. So, champagne moment of the evening can be anything at all, from your show, from somebody else's show. It can be a question, can be a witticism, can be absolutely anything. Jack, let's start where we started the evening. Start with you.
I sort of really support Joe Andrew and his 100% on the on a special subject, but also I love Harlequins on the walls. Just sort of trying to, I couldn't keep up with them. It was very much sort of I was looking and I found something and they'd already got it. So I think both of those were the most impressive moments of this week.
Excellent. Good choice. Bridget, I'll come back to you, having just pummeled your brain on one thing. Let's see what your champagne moment was.
Remember, I'm very old compared to the rest of them. It takes me longer.
So your favourite moment of the night? Bridget? Your favourite moment of the night, Bridget? Your champagne moment?
I think I have to give it to Harlequins on the wall.
Okay, good choice. Leigh, how about you?
I was tempted. My premature champagne was when Glasgow was 55 points ahead against me, but then I had to cork it up again. No, actually, I think when Kevin got the MASH bonus, because I had not got a clue, and he pulled it out of what to me was nowhere. And it was just one of those little things that helped us feel like, okay, we've got a bit of momentum here. So that was probably the best one for me.
Nice. John?
It's very cliched, really, but just the whole experience of going on as a team was really fun. And actually, so I'm not on Twitter, but a friend of mine sent me a tweet that Victoria Cora Mitchell had put on this evening, saying two really fun teams on OC tonight. So I think that's probably my moment, the fact that Victoria Cora Mitchell has said that we are two fun teams. So that's my highlight of the night.
Awesome. Michael?
I agree with everything. I mean, I was gonna say something like what John just said, but just so I can be a little bit more interesting than just copying him. I was both when it happened and watching back, I was really stunned by the Jugadores' ability to get the Emiradicano sequence so quickly. And it did, I have to say, when I was there, it kind of struck fear in the heart of me. Well,
thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm going to go
not enough, though.
Nice. And last but not least, Anne.
I'm going to go for something really petty and small. And the champagne moment of me was having somebody do my makeup, because I love makeup and I'm really bad at putting it on. So to actually get a good smoky eye, it was such a treat. Yeah.
Brilliant. I don't even know what a smoky eye is, but I will take your word for it. For me, I don't know. It's tricky. I really like that past senses picture connection I thought
Oh
that
yeah,
was
can I just add one thing to that as well, which I hadn't realised I'd said at the time, but then a friend texted me during the show saying, "Did you just say deep throat on national TV?" Because where the Felt clue, I said something about, maybe it's Mark Felt who was deep throat, the FBI informant, and then I got a couple of messages saying, "Why are you talking about deep throat on TV?" Which
and I mean, I don't quite know how to respond to that. Nor this from Pam. I'll give you a smoky eye, Gareth.
I'd like to
Is
see that.
that a threat?
With Pam
Take
Douglas.
her up on it. Yes, I would actually love to see the video of that, and you can do extreme makeup and makeup terms.
Yeah, I'd love that too. Like a time lapse, kind of thing.
Yeah.
New one for the Patreon subscribers.
Yeah, Patreon only. So I liked that. I liked the there was a comment about, if you don't know this, you're not going to get it in 1,000 years, and then Leigh going, "Can we have another 1,000 years, please?" I like that. I like that sort of thing. I like that there was a reference to Dusty Bin. We were talking about 3-2-1 last week. It's nice to see 3-2-1 coming up again. And sort of the sartorial elegance of the teams tonight. And then Margaret Brown's comment about the "I want that fecking jumper." That was one of my highlights. I think.
I seem to remember the green. There was some impressive work going on in the green room of last-minute decisions on clothing for the team, weren't there?
A late bid for my champagne moment is I did get the Tang Dynasty from your videos. Thank you, Pam. You know that and the smoky eye, Pam. But I do think that the teamwork on the wall for the Harlequins was just superb. Every single member of that team chipping in meaningfully, collectively just working so well and solving that wall was just great. If it wasn't that, it may well be Sharry from Queen's Belfast. His 8 starters were just, it was a fantastic performance from him. But yeah, good night was had by all. So thank you so much, everybody, for coming on, to Jack, John, Michael, Leigh, Anne, and Bridget. It's been an absolute delight having you. Some of you not for the first time, but all of you absolutely wonderful to have you on the show. We don't take for granted the fact that people come on. We really, really appreciate it. You giving up your time and throwing yourself into it. To everybody who's been chatting away in the chat and missed a lot of it because of the discussion, but thank you so much for watching and for chatting and making some very odd comments, Pam. But yeah, thanks so much. Don't forget, we have What is the Question, which you can vote for now, tinyurl.com/WITQ Sheffield. The vote for Quizzer and Team of the Week is now open at tinyurl.com/QW03opt. And we have lunchtime quiz time every day between 12 and 2 on the channel. This month is Black History Month, and we are marking Black History Month every single day with questions accordingly. And for anyone who wants to join our membership scheme, we will be ending the month with a Black History Month team quiz for our members, exclusively for our members. So feel free to join up if you would like to take part in all of that. So until next week we have David Bodicum joining us. I don't know who the other guests are, but David Bodicum is the guy who basically kind of ran all the questions for the first God knows how many series of Only Connect. He was one of the guys who was instrumental in the show's success, and he's going to be coming on and telling us about obviously his view on the quizzing next week, but also a little bit about that behind the scenes thing of putting questions together for shows, and his podcast as well. So we'll look forward to that. Until next week, everybody. Stay safe, have a fantastic week of quiz, and we will see you again next week. And I'm going to play you out with just this little plug for lunchtime quiz time. But thank you so much, everybody. Goodbye.
See ya. Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Thanks.
Join us for lunchtime quiz time every day between 12 and 2. At 12 o'clock, we release a question, and at 2 o'clock, we give you the answer with some supplementary information. We play lunchtime quiz time on both Twitter and Facebook. We are at Things Quiz on Twitter and